This video I'm going to show you how to make this A-line shirt dress with a bishop collar and an A-line sleeve with an elastic at the wrist. You can see the elastic at the wrist right here, and I was able to achieve this with 5 yards of Ankara fabric. You can make use of 4 to 5 yards depending on your size. Okay, it also has 2 pockets at the sides like so. All right, and it has an elastic at the waist, at the back waistline here, to be able to cinch the back waistline. Okay, let's get started already. So I have my Ankara fabric here, and like I said earlier, I made use of 5 yards. What I have in here is 5.5 yards of Ankara fabric, and I made use of 5 yards. Okay, now I'll just fold my fabric on a fold of 2 like this, and the part that I fold right here is the length part, which is the 45 yards, the 45 inches, sorry, part. This is this part that I'm folding right here into 2. This part here is 45 inches part, the length part. So I'll fold it into 2 this way, and I'll fold it and make sure that I have my half inch for starting point here. Then I'll mark my length, the length of my gown, which is 60 inches plus 1 inch for the hem. So I have 61 inches here in total, and then I have half inch at the upper part for me to be able to join the shoulders together. Okay, so after that, after marking this half inch here, I'm going to cut out exactly another 61.5 inches on a fold of 2 like this. Here I have it, and this is going to be for the back part. Okay, so I have the front part on a fold of 2, and I also have the back part on a fold of 2 as well, and I'm going to just place it on each other like so. I hope you understand. So now the first thing I'm going to do is to work on this part here, which is going to be for the front part. So I folded I'm going to mark half inch on the fold that I have here. I'll mark half inch on this sides, and I'll fold the half inch like so. So this part here, I'm supposed to mark like 2.5 inches for my bottom placket, but I'm marking half inch because I do not want the down part here to be small. I want it to be very free at the down part. Okay, so if I had marked 2.5 inches here, I would have had a shorter width at this part here. So I want it to be free. Then I just mark that half inch. So I'm going to cut out another fabric to join to this half inch here to make the bottom placket. So this part here is going to be free at the down part. I want it to be free. Okay, so I hope you understand what I did right here now. So I'm going to mark, I'm going to just cut out another fabric and join. So after marking my half inch like that, I'm folding it like this. I'm going to start with my marking. So this part here is going to be for the front, and I'm going to mark the neck depth of the back, which is 1 inch. I'm going to mark it like this, and I'm also going to mark the neck depth of the front, which is 3 inches like so. Then I'll mark the neck width of 3 inches. So if you're on the bigger side, you can mark 3.5 inches as your neck width. All right, so I'll just connect the neckline like so. Okay, I'll connect it like so, and after doing that, now I'm going to mark my shoulder measurement. The shoulder I'm working with is 8 inches. Then I'm going to mark half inch. So I'll add half inch, and I marked 8.5 inches right here. Then I'll come down by my 1 inch shoulder slope, and I'm going to connect it to the neck line like so, to the neck width like so. Okay, I'll mark my armhole depth of 8 inches. So you can just divide your round bust by 6 and add 1.5 inches for you to be able to get your armhole depth. Okay, so mine is 8.5 inches, and I'm going to just mark it like this because my round bust is about 46 inches. All right, so I'm just going to mark it like so, and I'm going to connect it on the other side like this, and I'm just going to get the straight line like this, and I'm just going to mark it like so. Okay, once I'm done with that, I'm going to mark my half length. So my half length for this part here is 18 inches, and I'm going to just mark the 18 inches like this. Okay, then I'll connect it like this. Then on this part, after this part, I'm going to mark 9 inches from the waistline. I'll mark it down to get my hip measurement. I'll mark 9 inches and I'm going to just put it here. Okay, so I'll mark it on this part as well, and I'm going to just connect it. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to mark my round bust divided by 4. I'll add 1 inch for ease on this part, then I'll mark 1 inch for sewing allowance like so. Okay, then I'll come to the armhole area here. I'll divide what I have here by 2. I'll mark it to get our front armhole. I'll come in here by ½ inch and I'm going to connect it into the measurement that I have here already. Okay, I'll mark it into it like so. This is our front armhole, and I'm also going to mark the back armhole. From the midpoint of the armhole area, I'll connect into that line as well. Okay, and I'll mark, and that is the, so I have my front and my back armhole already here. Then once I'm done with that, I'm going to come to the waistline here. I'll mark my waist measurement divided by 4, and I'll add 1 inch for ease as well. Then I'll add 1 inch for sewing allowance, and I'm going to mark it like this. Okay, so once I'm done with that, I'm going to come to this hip part here. I'll mark my hip measurement divided by 4. I'll mark it, and I'm going to mark 3 inches to make my hip have a little excess around here. Then I'll mark 1 inch for sewing allowance. So I am going to go to the down part now, and I'm going to be making use of the entire fabric that I have for the width of my down part here. Okay, so what I have here is about 22 inches, and I'm just going to mark on that 22 inches. So this is what I was saying. If I had marked about 2.5 there, I would have had a little excess around there. So I'll connect this line now, and I'm going to connect from the waistline to the hip like this. Okay, so if you want to make use of this your ruler from the hip line, you can just mark it straight. I'm going to blend this area so that I will not have a sharp edge around here. Then from the hip area, you can just make use of your ruler and connect it to the down part. Okay, but I just want to make use of my free hand and have a shape around here. Okay, you can either have it a shaped like this, or you connect it straight with your ruler to the down part around here. I hope you understand. So once I get to the down part around here, I'm going to pick up my ruler and I'm going to mark 1 inch here. You can come up by 1.5 if you wish. So I'll just mark 1 inch here, and I'm just going to curve this edge like this so that it will not be sharp. Okay, so that's once I'm through with that. Now what I'm going to do is to place the down parts, which is the back parts, underneath this one before you start cutting out. Okay, so I'll cut the back neckline and the shoulder first, then I'll add ½ inches allowance. So on this part, I'm not adding any ½ inch allowance. I'm cutting the back armhole area first, then I'll continue cutting like this. I hope you understand. So now I'm cutting both the front and the back part together. Make sure you place the back part underneath this part before you start cutting. Okay, so I'm done cutting out the front, and I'll just cut out this part here. So once I'm done with that, now I'm going to remove the back parts. I'll remove it, then I'll now cut the neckline for the front part. So I'm cutting it, as you can see, with the ½ inch allowance, the same way I did for the back part. So I will recut this armhole area as well. So this is the front part I am cutting out now. I hope you understand. So once I'm done with that, now this is what I have. I'm going to notch this area, which is my waist area. I'm going to notch it, and then the first thing I'm going to do now is to open up the folding that I have here, which is the ½ inch. So I'm going to continue to open it up like so. I'll open it up until the front, up until the upper parts, the ½ inch here. I hope you understand. If you have any question, you can ask me in the comments and I'm going to respond to you. Okay, I will explain to you. So after opening it up like so, I have my fabric here, which is the width is about 3 inches, because I'll be joining half of this to the ½ inch I already have. This is 3 inches here, so then I'm going to have 2.5 inches for the placket remaining. I hope you understand. So I have 2 of this for each sides. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is to place it on the ½ inch that I already have here. I'll place it like this, okay? So I'm going to place it right side facing each other. I'll place it like this, and I'm just going to join this part here with the 1/2 inch all the way down. So once I'm done joining this part here, I'm going to join the other side as well, okay? So here is what I have after I was done joining, and you can see, so I've repeated the same thing for the other side as well, and I'm just going to fold this now with 1/2 inch in, then I'll fold with 1 inch again. So now I'm going to be using the stitch that I already have here as my guard. Instead of using the notch area around that place as the guard, I'll just make use of this stitch here as the guard. So my folding is going to be resting on this stitch around here. I hope you understand. So just fold this in like this and fold like this and stitch all the way down at the edge. And you're going to repeat the same thing for the other side. Okay? I hope you understand. So just fold it like this and stitch it all the way down and repeat the same thing for the second part of the front part. I hope you understand. So just stitch it down. For the sake of the beginners that are watching, that's why I'm taking my time. So just stitch it down all the way. So here is the back part that I have on a fold of 2. So I'm going to mark the back half length now. You know, the back half length is not always the same as the front half length. So I'm going to mark the back half length from my shoulder line. I'll mark it right here. So I'll just, now from the half length that I have already there, I just came up by 1 inch, and that is my back half length, okay? I'll just mark it like so. Mark your preferred back half length line, and I'll just mark it. So once I'm done, I'm just going to be making a casing for my 1.5 inches elastic. So this is the elastic I'm going to be making use of to snatch the back waistline. So I'll be making a casing for this now. So I'm going to measure the 1.5 inches up from the measurement that I already have here. I'll measure it up. I will not measure it down. I'll measure it up. So I have 1.5 inches right here now. So I'm going to be cutting the fabric that I'm going to use to make the casing for this elastic. I hope you understand. So I'm going to extend this line here now. As you can see, I'm done doing that. So now here is the casing that I'm going to make. So the fabric that I have here now is just the measurements of what I have on the waistline right here, and the width, the length is about 2.5 inches. I'm going to use half to stitch it on the both sides. Just place it right side facing the wrong side like this, and I'm going to place it above the line that I already have here, and I'm going to stitch all the way down. And then once I'm done stitching it all the way down like so, I'm just going to pin it down like this, and I'm just going to stitch it down. Then I'll flip it over this way, stitch it all the way down like so, and I'm just going to, once I'm done stitching, I am just going to flip it over to the other side like this, and I'm going to stitch with 1/2 inch again. I hope you understand. So just place it like this, stitch all the way down, then I'll flip it over like so and cover this place up like this, and I'll just put in the 1/2 inch and I'm going to stitch it, so just to make a casing for the elastic around here. I hope you understand. So once I'm done doing that now, here is what I have, and I'm just going to measure what I have here. So my back waist is around 19 inches, so I'm just going to reduce this now. I'm going to be cutting out an elastic of about 19 inches, of about 17 inches, sorry. I'll be cutting out an elastic of about 17 inches, and I'm going to infuse it into this. So by the time I sew with 1 inch on both sides, the elastic is going to be around 15 inches, okay? So I have 17 inches inside this place right here. All right, so you can also run a stitch of, you can run 2 stitches on it if you wish, okay? So here I'll just place my shoulder, and I'm going to fold in the shoulders like so. Just stitch it with 1/2 inch like this, and I'm going to come to the side now. From this part here, I'll stitch all the way down with my 1 inch sewing allowance, okay? So just stitch down with sewing allowance, and then you can, if you want to put your belt, you can add your belt at this point on the waistline here, and you can also fix your pockets on this waistline here, okay? So for the pocket, I'm going to be marking from this part here I'll mark 7 inches and I'll just notch this part here. So this is going to be the space for my pocket. Okay, so you can add your belt, but I'm not going to be making use of a belt. I'm going to make use of the elastic, as you have already seen. So now I am going to measure the round neckline. I'm going to measure what I have right here. So I'll just measure from one placket to the other, and at the front part here I have 5.5 inches and at the back part I have 3.5 inches, which makes it total of 9 inches. Okay, so I'm going to mark the starting point, as you can see, on both sides here. Then this part here is going to be for the back, so I'll mark 3.5 inches for my back neckline. Okay, I'll mark 3.5, and I'm going to mark the front is going to be 5.5. okay, I'll mark the 5.5 inches for the front like so. Okay, so I'm just going to mark the same thing here, and I'm going to connect the lines just like this. So once I'm done with that, now here is the back part. This part is the middle back of the neckline. So the height of my collar is 1 inch. Then on this part here I'm going to mark 2 inches up like so, and you can get your curve driller now to connect. I'm going to connect this part here first, the straight line first. Then from this down part here I'll connect it to this part here. You can make use of your curve driller to connect it. I'm just going to be making use of my free hand like this. Then I'm going to come up with the 1 inch, which is for the height of the collar. I'll just use my tape to connect it back like so, just to make it more visible. So once I'm done connecting like that, I'm going to mark 1 inch, which is the height of the collar. From this part here, I'll follow the shape that I already have here. I'm going to mark the 1 inch for the collar like so, all the way down here. Then I'm going to connect it like this here as well. So once I'm done with that, now I'm going to measure my 9 inches here. Measure whatever you have, half of the neckline in total. So I'll mark my 9 inches here. Then I'll just slant it like this, and then I'll just come in by 1 inch here, and I'm going to curve this area like this, just to curve this edge like this, and that will be all for the bishop collar. Okay, then I'm going to cut it out. I hope you understand. So I'm just going to cut it out like so. All right, so here is what I have, and this is my stay, my collar stay, and I'm going to put it on a fold of 2 and cut it out like this. I hope you can see. Then I'll cut it out. So I'm going to cut it out on my fabric as well. As you can see, 1/2 inch all around here, and this part here is on fold. Okay, so I have 2 pieces, and I already ironed my stay on one part of this Ankara pieces, and I have the second one just like so. Okay, so here is it. So now I'm going to be folding the edge of one of the pieces, the one that has stay. I've folded the edge inward like this. As you can see, the 1/2 inch that I had, I folded it inward, and I'm going to place this one here right side facing each other. I'll place it like this. The second part there is not folded, okay, just this part. So notch the midpoints of this collar, and then I'm going to start stitching from this folded part here. I will stitch all the way. I'll stitch up all the way. I'll stitch up like so all the way. Then I'll stitch down to this second part that I have read, to this second part. So now this part here is going to be opened, and the upper part is going to be. So make sure that whatever you have around this part is what you have around this collar. Okay, please try and remeasure, then I'll turn it. Make sure that you check and make sure that whatever you have around here is what you have on your neckline here, so you don't have any excess or shortage. Okay, so I'm just going to connect it like so, and I'm going to start stitching. I'm going to start stitching like this. I'll place the midpoint of the neckline and the collar together, and I'm going to stitch all the way down with the half inch that I have around there. I'll stitch all the way with the half inch. Then once I'm done, I'm going to cover it up. After stitching like this, I'll just cover it up like this with the half inch that I already put in before. Just cover it this way. Just cover it this way, and I'm going to stitch up on it on the edge like so, all the way down, and that's going to be the end of the collar. Okay, so once I'm done with that, now I'm going to be cutting out the sleeve. Okay, so I have my fabric on a fold of 2 for the sleeve, and it is on fold, as you can see. So I'm just going to mark the length of my sleeve, which is 24 inches plus half inch to join at the upper part, and 1.5 inch to make the casing for the sleeve. Okay, so the total width of this sleeve is about 15 inches. It's about 15 inches. Okay, so that is what I'm going to be using to fold it. So when I measure the round of my armhole, what I have there is about 10 3/4. So I'm going to mark 9 3/4 here. I'm going to minus 1 and mark 9 3/4 here. Okay, then I'll come down by 4 inches for my bicep. I'll mark it up until I'll mark my 4 inches of the bicep like so. I'm going to mark it like this, and then once I'm done, I'm going to just mark the 9 3/4 on this part here also. Then I'm going to connect the line from this part here like this. Okay, I'll just connect it like so. Then I'll get the midpoint of this line this slanted line. I'll get the midpoint, and once I get the midpoint, I'm just going to make a mark on the midpoint like so, and I'm going to make my curve 1/2 inch all the way up here and 1/2 inch all the way down here. Okay, so just connect it like so, and then I'm going to now make use of the entire 15 inches that I have here, which is going to be for also plus my sewing allowance. Okay, so I'm going to come here and I'll mark 1 inch sewing allowance on this part here. I'll mark my 1 inch sewing allowance. I've not added sewing allowance on this part, so I'll mark it. Then I'm going to connect from the 1 inch sewing allowance now all the way till the down parts of this fabric here. So I just connect it to make my slanted A line. I hope you understand. So then I'll come to the down part here, and I'm going to come up by 1.5 inches. At the down part here, I'll make a curve of about 1.5 inches. Okay, then I'm going to mark it like so, and I'm going to just connect it just as you can see me doing like so. Okay, then I'm going to start cutting it out. So I'm going to cut out like so, and I'm going to cut out this front part like this, and all the way I'll continue cutting out all the way like this. So here is my sleeve. As you can see, I'll just notch the midpoint like that, and then I'm going to come to this down part here. I am going to fold the edge and make my casing for 1/2 inch elastic around here. So I'll make use of my 1.5 inch to make an elastic casing around here. Okay, so just fold it and stitch it all the way down like so. Then once you are done stitching that, I'll fold this part here into 2, and I'm going to stitch all the way down here. After you are done with this part, stitch all the way down here with your 1 inch sewing allowance, and I'm going to fix this part into the body. So remember to I've forgotten to reduce the sleeve area, the front sleeve area, by 1/2 inch. Okay, just try and do that. So just measure around your wrist here, and what I have here is 8 inches, and I'm going to mark about 7 inches. I'll cut out 7 inches elastic on my 1/2 inch elastic here for the round sleeve, plus 2 inches to stitch on both sides. That will make it 9 inches. So I'm going to be cutting out 9 inches of my elastic to stitch. Okay, so that will be the end, and thank you so much for watching. If you have any question, you can ask me in the comments, and I'm going to see you on the next video. Thank you. Bye.